Happy Sunday to you, August the 17th. We're taping this at 11:37. It is the All 32 pod. He is Will Parkinson. I am Mike Giardi with you as always, a proud member of the CLNS Media Network and brought to you by the #1 daily fantasy sports app in North America, Prizepicks. Download today, use the code CLNS to get $50 when you play your first 5 Prizepicks. Run your game. Will and I have been hyper-focused, obviously, on what's happening in our backyard, so there'll be a lot of Patriots and Jets talk, and then we'll take a little brief tour around the league and some interesting storylines that continue to pop up. But first, Patriots get another W in the preseason. A lot of excitement, a lot of enthusiasm. We're having a hard time. Will,
it's 14-3 on the table now, Mike. We went from 13
I think 13-14 wins, no question. Yeah, we're having a hard time contextualizing things. And I'm not going to take away what they did, but to me, what happened on Wednesday and Thursday in the joint practices, especially against the offense, far more of a takeaway than what happened on Saturday when the Patriots run out their starters and the Vikings run out their backups. Once again, I think the Vikings sat 35 guys. So basically anyone of any significance did not play for Minnesota. I know you can only play the guys in front of you, Will, but again, because Will Campbell did not give up a single pressure in 15 snaps does not mean that Will Campbell has turned the corner as a pass blocking left tackle. He got beat 3 times in 11 snaps in the Thursday joint practice by Jonathan Grenard. Grenard, of course, finished 11th, I believe, in Defensive Player of the Year voting last year, had 12 sacks. Like, that's the true test, not going up against Gabe Murphy and a bunch of other guys that you've never heard of. So, again, good that he didn't give up any pressures. Good that he put a couple guys on their back in the run game. But then again, isn't that what he's supposed to do?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think something in the preseason we lack as a football community. We're so starved for content. We're so starved for football, and it's amazing, and it's really cool. And like, I loved having football back in the last 2 weeks, or really 3 weeks, and being at camp gets you excited. And like, there's little check marks throughout the process, right? It's like first time the pads come on, and then first time, you start really hitting, and first game action, and just being in the stadium again. It's amazing. All that said, a lot of camp is confirming. A lot of camp and then preseason is confirming priors, right? Like, Will Campbell's always been a good run blocker. I was never concerned about the run blocking. So to me, it would be much more concerning if he's getting beaten in the run game and the screen game. I think the issue, which hasn't really, to me, been solved entirely, and which I don't know, and it's fine. It hasn't happened with Membu, and all these guys were like, Membu was a really good run blocker in college. Guess what, Mike? He's been a really good run blocker in the NFL so far. Some of the pass sets haven't been awesome. Some of the pass sets for Will Campbell haven't been awesome. Henderson, like, really good. Like, these guys, really good running back in college. We saw this stuff on tape. It's just confirming either what you saw, especially for these young guys, or confirming things that, maybe, hey, we thought this guy could do this, and he actually hasn't shown it at all. Like, I'm using a good example. Isaac Tesla yesterday has a touchdown and made NFL Twitter go nuts. He's a fun player. Not taking anything away from it. He's going against guys he went against last year in college. He was really fast, and he's really tall. And guess what, Mike? He looked really fast and really tall. Crazy how that works, right? So, Ashton Genty ran somebody over. What did he do in college? He ran people over.
Yep.
I don't want to be like the Debbie Downer or don't get too excited, but I think we've seen things from the Patriots, like many teams, where you're like, oh, okay, maybe this guy's a little better than I thought, or this guy looks better. But just always keep in context, I'm not trying to be demeaning, that if a guy's a 3 going against other 3s, that's great. He should win. And now it's going to be a step up to the 2s. And if you were with 2 and now you're getting 1s reps, like, here's a good example, and I'll stop blabbering. Brandon Smith for the Jets, right? Undrafted guy, was in the UFL, CFL last couple of years. Amazing camp. He was with the 3s, and it was like, oh, this is fun. He's with Adrian Martinez and Brady Cook, and it's fun. Then gets promoted to be a 2. Or we can't really talk about the depth charts. He gets promoted to play with the Tyrod Taylor. Does well enough, and now he's kind of a fringe Justin Fields group guy. And it's like each step, you want to see how he progresses. Like, that's just I don't know. That's, to me, the reality of what camp is, what the preseason is confirming either what you can do and that we already thought, and then either sometimes confirming what you can't do, which we already thought as well.
It's a great point. Efton Chism is the guy that we have to talk about. Efton Chism, 6 catches in the second quarter, 71 yards, a tremendous touchdown.
Wasn't called a mixture of – Bill Simmons tweeted something, and I thought about quote tweeting, and I said not to. I think it was something in the lines of he's a mixture of I think Danny Amendola, Wes Welker, and somebody else into like one superhero. And I was like, aha. So he now has the unrealistic expectations that he has to be the next Patriots amazing slot guy, which I feel bad for, honestly.
Well, so I'm glad you brought that up. So on his touchdown, he breaks 3 tackles, and I'm calling this up from my story because, again, I think he's making the team now. And I was sort of like, he had made a push. I thought the push started the week of the Washington joint practices through the game, and then it continued this week in Minnesota, where he had a lot of good reps in one-on-ones, a lot of good reps in team. And, then to have a day like this where he was hard to stop. But he wasn't playing against the starters. He wasn't playing with the starters. And just for instance, on the touchdown, when he breaks the 3 tackles and then splits 2 more tacklers to get in the end zone, I just want to give you the names. And you tell me what you know about the names of the guys who were trying to make the play on him. And I got to find it here. Jay Ward. Doggone it. Where'd it go? Hey, this is Jay Ward, who's a 3rd-year special teamer. Okay, does not play defensive back unless like an emergency. Like, look at his stats. Does not do it. A UDFA by the name of Zehemiah Vaughn. This is his 1st year, rookie. And then Mekhi Blackman, who played for them 2 years ago as a corner, then got hurt last year, missed the entirety of the season, and has been, if you read the reports out of Minnesota, there's rust, and he's trying to kick the rust off. So he wasn't running through the ones. Harrison Smith wasn't the last line of defense there that he had to break a tackle on. It was against those guys. Now, his play strength is surprising. I think people didn't necessarily know that. It's something Mike Vrabel has pointed out. It's something we're seeing now. He's running over dudes at times. Again, the threes. He's running over the threes, but okay, that's good. My one caution, and as I said, I think he's making the team. I think there's potential here for this player to be a nice fit in this offense at some point. He's still not getting reps with the ones. They've given him more opportunities. He's gone from the Ben Woolridge 3rd team to the Joshua Dobbs 2nd team, and now has become someone that Dobbs is leaning on. So that's, again, a good sign. Dobbs connecting with him. Javon Baker, a 4th-round pick last year, targeted 7 times yesterday, caught 1 pass. Had a false start, had a drop. That's production. And then, that's Javon. They're giving him opportunities, and it looked like maybe he was making a push. But then when it comes to games, he's not doing what Chism is, which is Chism is not only shining in practice, but in the games. Baker's done it in practice, not doing it in the games. But you have to keep it in context. Like that tweet by Bill is irresponsible. He's not playing against anybody yet. I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm not saying he's not going to be the next Welker, Edelman, Troy Brown. He's certainly impressed me the last 2 weeks. Like, forget about the spring when I sort of downplayed it because you're in shorts and T-shirts.
Yeah, we've all seen that movie before.
Yeah, and then mandatory OTAs, he wasn't even targeted. He was over on the 3rd field. So all this talk about him and all this ink that had been wasted on him, yeah, he's got feel. You put him on your radar because he showed you some things. But then when it came time to mandatory, he was over here. He wasn't even with the guys. He wasn't with the 1s or the 2s. Now he's worked himself into that conversation. So that's a good sign. But until he starts getting reps with Drake, I can't tell you he's going to catch 80 passes this year, which seems to be like this thing that we get carried away with. Good on him. Good performance. He's an awesome kid. You listen to him talk. He's like, it's surreal, yet I'm supposed to be here. He's really sort of wrestling with it, but he's got a big smile on his face. Really nice performance. But again, it's just sort of tamp it down. You have to look at who they're going against. And now we'll see, because they're probably not going to play anybody on Thursday. It's a quick, short turnaround. But maybe he does play. But again, you're not going to be playing against starters. So when do we get that opportunity? It might not be till week 1 till you see whether he's up for the game, and then when he actually gets snaps when it matters.
Yeah, I think I think you can be excited about these guys, and there's something always to preseason. And again, it's confirming priors. You're getting excited about young guys and saying these guys are making a push. Mike, I wanted to ask you, Anfernee Jennings,
yes,
is he going to break the sack record?
So it's funny. I was thinking about this. He gets a thumbs up and a thumbs down again. The thumbs up because his play was excellent. 2.5, 3 sacks, depending on who I said it was 2.5. Somebody has is the 3, whatever. But again, he's playing into the late 4th quarter. Kyle Duggar playing into the late 4th quarter. I mean, to me, it's pretty clear that Duggar is on the out, and they're just
Yeah.
begging, hoping somebody, hey, you want him? Would someone want to take some of this contract because it's still sizable? With Jennings, Vrabel talked about him post game and said, I give him a lot of credit. We had a lot of young players we're trying to get a look at. It's a different scheme for him. So he was further down the food chain than you would expect him to be. But in the last 2 weeks, he's played well. He obviously played really well yesterday, again, against backups, third strings, fourth string guys. I still wonder if the fit is there. And I still wonder, to me, it's almost as if this is more of just like with Duggar. Hey, does somebody want him? Come get him. His contract is very manageable. I think it's $4 million this year. And we know he's a good run defender. He's definitely one of their best 53. It just, he's not one of Mike's 53, or it doesn't seem like he's one of Mike's 53. So I still would not be surprised if he moves on despite his massive day yesterday. I wanted to talk to you about Aaron Glenn. And we've discussed the Jets. We've discussed the approaches by both Vrabel and Glenn, and just sort of the no-nonsense factor that both of them have brought to the table. Now they're doing it in a different way. Vrabel's jumping in on fights, which I know you love, for a second time this past week. Aaron's response at halftime to what he saw, and then again in the postgame, use the word sloppy, is strong. It's not something that we would have seen from Robert Saleh.
No.
And it feels like, to me, especially based on all our conversations over the last couple of years when it came to Saleh and the Jets, that this is precisely what New York needs, right? That this was a country club is too strong of a word, but it felt like there were some guys that were definitely on scholarship, if you will. And Aaron is making it clear, no, we're not doing that anymore. You guys aren't good enough to get that kind of treatment.
Yeah, I think the way he's approached camp and practice and hitting and all these different things is all refreshing change just in the NFL in general. Mike, like, how many training camps have you covered the last 5-6 years where it's like, Jesus Christ, this is a glorified 7-on-7 camp with pads on. So all that's been refreshing. I think the most refreshing thing is, one, injuries. He has been very this guy's hurt or this guy's not hurt. And this is the updates and getting out in front of it. There's no hey, these false timetables that give everybody and fans in particular this false hope, or Mekhi Becton, I'll never forget, got hurt the first day of camp 4 years ago, and Saleh said he's week to week, and he didn't play a single snap the rest of the season. So that stuff's gone. But more importantly, as you mentioned, in a town right now with Carlos Mendoza and Aaron Boone and a lot of just fluff from a lot of these coaches. You got Brian Dable, who's of the Belichick tree, who's very I'm just not going to say anything, just F you guys, basically. Right. Glenn will just be yeah, we suck, or we did this bad. This was sloppy. We will get this corrected. He's right. Football is a crazy. And the Jets last week, people coming on my, I'm talking on my other show, and it's the comment section's can we book our playoff tickets? And then this week it's we're tanking for number 1 overall. I just thought it's refreshing. I think it's needed across sports. It's something that's very frustrating, to be honest, when I think as a fan, I think most people listening would agree, there's nothing more irritating than your team losing or playing badly, and the manager or coach or whatever sport gets up there and it's oh, it's all good, man. We loved our performance. We're going to watch the tape. It's no, man, we suck today.
Right.
The offense wasn't good enough. Glenn told you the offense wasn't good enough. The defense gave up a really bad busted play, and Andre Cisco, I really don't know what he was doing on that play. Then single high, and why you're taking the wheel route when there's a corner that's already taken the wheel route makes no sense. But yeah, I just think that this Jets team is the only way they're gonna be successful this year is run the ball, play good defense, be tougher, be smarter, be better coached than a lot of teams, and they can't play bad, dumb football. And yesterday at points, there was dumb missed assignments.
I want to ask you about Justin Fields, but before I do that, I want to tell the good folks at home about Prizepicks, a great sponsor of ours. Talked about this quite a bit. Daily fantasy sports, accessible to all. It's in 30-something states currently, over 10 million members. You just pick 2 players up to 6 to win up to 2,000 times your money. And it's really stat lines. It's innings pitched, it's strikeouts, it's walks, it's home runs, it's points, it's 3-pointers. those sorts of things. And they set you a little number, and you have to decide whether you want more or less. You can cross sports, which I find to be pretty awesome with that. So again, just download the app, use the code CLNS to get 50 off your first $5. Again, download the app today, use the code CLNS to get 50 off your first $5. Prizepicks, run your game. All right, let's get to Justin Fields, because I'm sure we've talked about him many times, and I am sure we will continue to talk about him many times over the next however many weeks. 1 for 5, 4 yards.
Other than that, Mrs.
Took a quick, went back and watched all 5 dropbacks. At least one occasion, ball's got to come out faster.
Yep.
This is a player that's been a knock on him. Is it fixable in that regard? Can they get him to see it quicker? Or is this just now, is this who he is? And you're going to have to figure out, if you're the Jets, how to work around it as best you can, because you can't totally work around it. That's part of playing the position.
I think it's a mixture of both. I think Justin Fields is a lot of who he was billed to be. I've seen him in person a lot this summer, and there's days that Justin looks amazing. There's periods where it's like, whoa. The best example is Jets-Giants practice on Tuesday. Fields started 12 of 13 with a drop, pushing the ball down the field a little, using his legs. They're gashing the Giants defense. The next period, 2nd and 3rd and long, there's no option of run pass. It's just a pass. Giants defensive line, which is really good, can tee off, and Fields look terrible. Like, this is kind of who he is. The Jets, the biggest thing that I took away from last night, Fields and the offense as a whole. Do they need a second pass catcher, Mike, outside of Breece and Mason Taylor? Yeah, of course. No doubt about that. Do they need to continue, do Membu and Olu need to continue to get reps because they're guys that are really talented but young players? 100%, Mike. Mm-hmm. Does Breece Hall and Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis being healthy and running the football well a huge part of it? Absolutely. The problem is, in the preseason, the Jets aren't going to show a lot of what they've shown behind closed doors, which is a lot of different creative ways you want to get the ball in these guys' hands, and you don't want to really expose your screen game too much. You don't want to expose a lot of these guys in motion, very basic offense. Fields is being told not to run or get rid of the football. And we saw it the first play last night. In a regular season game, Mike, while it's a nice play, get Taylor's first catch in the NFL, and Fields is taking off with that, and Taylor's blocking, and he's picking up a first down. I mean, I'm not trying to say that Fields is going to be all of a sudden this amazing player the second the lights come on week 1. But when he's not being allowed to run, which is his best asset, or use his arm to set up his legs, which is his second best asset, the offense is going to look pretty crappy. And especially when him and Garrett need to get on the same page, 100%. I think part of right now what's difficult is because it's very vanilla, it allows you to double Garrett with ease. And then you're forcing it. The ball's got to come out quicker. They got to catch passes. I just think Tanner Engstrand's got a really difficult job. I was talking to a couple of people, Mike, hear me out on this, and people are going to be like, Lamar Jackson, 2018 rookie Lamar, very similar to what the Jets are going to have to do. Really good offensive line, had some good pass catchers, but the group's not amazing. Good group of running backs. The quarterback's got amazing legs and can throw at times. But you want to limit the mistakes. You want to play kind of conservative football because you love the defense. You love your special teams. You think you're well coached. You kind of just let's let him do some special things and otherwise totally take the responsibility off his plate. Obviously, the next year he goes and wins unanimous MVP and the whole thing. But I think a version of that offense is what you're going to see from the Jets this year. Very much creative ways to get Breece, Mason Taylor, and obviously Garrett the football. A lot of read option, a lot of zone stuff, a lot of, RPOs to kind of set up different things in the short passing game, and a couple of shots deep a game. It's boring. It's not going to be super exciting, but you saw in the second drive, that's really the recipe for them to win this year. Mm-hmm. I think 11 of the 12 plays ran the football. They ran on 3rd and 8 and bulldozed the Giants and it's not like the Adam Gase running on 3rd and 8. It's they're going to use 5 really light defensive linemen, and we're going to just max protect and just run them over. Do I think that Fields has looked amazing this summer? No. Do I think he's looked as bad as everyone's making it seem? No. I think there's in between there. As always, there's context. But last thing, and generally speaking, I just think for a guy like Fields, and I'm not saying he's going to be so much better in the regular season. I just want to continue to reiterate that. But the preseason's like a death sentence for him. He doesn't process super quick. A vanilla offense doesn't fit him very well, and he's not allowed to run. So, like, at some point, like, he's gonna probably kind of look like Bleep, like the way he did last night. The first game was a little bit more reminiscent of what he should look like in the regular season. Dump offs, take off and run the football, and then from time to time push it down the field and play action.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to get to a place, and we've Aaron talked about quite a bit about we want to let him play quarterback, and maybe he didn't necessarily get to do that in previous stops.
I think we're approaching exactly what you're about to say.
Yeah, but I think once you've seen up close and personal now for the spring and the summer, that you're going to say to yourself, Justin, you need to probably tuck it and run 10 times, whether that's off a scramble, because he's such an explosive player that 10 touches in that run game could mean 75 yards, right? Like, and that's a huge benefit. Get yourself out of some bad spots, put yourself in favorable positions where maybe you can cut the field in half and give him a half field read. Hey, it's here, or go. But I feel like that's what we're driving towards. Again, we'll see. We'll see what the real offense looks like in week one and how they decide to develop it from there.
Think about this, and we'll finish with this. First quarter, both, starting offense got 2 series. They start with the ball. They only gained 1 first down. They went 4 on 4th. Aaron Glenn, by the way, has gone 4 on 4th down pretty much any time he crosses the 50.
The Campbell.
I hope it continues, Mike, because the trope or stereotype of defensive coordinators, defensive head coaches is very conservative. Punt on the 40-yard line, whatever. He has not done that. He has been very like, I trust our run game and our offensive line, and like whatever. We'll see if that continues in the regular season. When the lights come on, everyone gets a little timid sometimes. 3 minutes to go in the first quarter is when the starters for the offense came out. They only ran, I believe, 18 plays. The Giants scored on 4 plays. So 20 plays were ran in 12 minutes of game clock. That's very like old school. We are just going to punch you in the mouth over and over again. And we're going to try to, by the fourth quarter, we're going to run 8-9 minute drives. Again, I'm not telling you that's the recipe for a Super Bowl, but even the really good teams need to be able to do it. I think the Patriots are going to do it a lot. I think the Jets are going to do it a lot, especially when they go play teams like Miami and Buffalo, where the only way you lose to Miami and Buffalo is if you give them 1 million possessions. So I just think that's something we'll see from both these teams is like very physical, lean on you for 3 quarters, and then let our quarterback who has talent, Drake May and Justin Fields are not the same, but they both are guys that can be prone to mistakes at times. You want to limit those, and I think that's the recipe for success for both those teams.
Well, I mean, it's conceivable before year's end that along with the cornerback position, the offensive line is the strength of the football team. 2 first-round tackles, a second-round guard, an AVT who's played
first round top 15 3 top 15 picks, and then a top 40 pick in Tippmann and Simpson.
Oh, AVT was a first-round pick, right? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and Tippmann. Yeah, so there's a lot of talent there.
AVT looked, Mike. He's going to get
I've seen healthy,
100 plus easy.
He needs to stay healthy. I mean, that is like the big bugaboo because when he plays well. It's just playing there consistently week after week and posting has been an issue for him. All right, from those 2 teams, I want to quickly hit the Browns here as we start to tour around the league. Quinshon Judkins has been cleared of the domestic charges against him, or they're not charging him. So he will be in Cleveland camp and has not been, hadn't even signed. And in the same breath, Isaiah Bond, who was probably a mid, 3rd, 4th round pick receiver out of Texas, talented kid, fast. He also was dealing with a domestic situation, and he also has been cleared, and he is now flying to Cleveland and is expected and may have already signed with Cleveland. And all I could think of was, okay, Judkins, you picked him in the 2nd round. You did your homework. Something came up here, wasn't good. I know that the woman has said that there were other instances prior to this of domestic. But obviously, again, no charges being pressed here. But then to double down on someone like Bond just strikes me as an organization that's like so desperate for talent that they're like, you know what? Screw it. You know what? Fine. We'll just do it. And then we'll bury this guy over here. I mean, think back to Mike Green, who's got off to a real nice start in Baltimore, would have been a top 15 pick, ends up going in the 2nd round because of allegations against him during a couple college stops. and they basically haven't let Mike Green talk. I think he's talked once, maybe twice. Like
Well,
they
last time he talked, he basically admitted to multiple sexual assault allegations.
So I don't know. Like I would think an organization that just went through what they've gone through and still has the specter of Deshaun Watson, he's still under contract, he's still showing up to the building, would have said, you know what, we probably should be smart here and not do this. All right, we drafted Judkins. He's been found. They're not pressing charges. Okay, we'll sign him. That's, he was our second round pick, and then we'll just put him on the you're being closely watched, buddy. But to add Bond to it just strikes of, I don't know, tone deaf, desperation, because you're just not a talented football team. I don't know, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I just was kind of like, I think my reaction, I'll keep it trending, was just like, ugh. Like, again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to get into the Rashee Rice thing and the conspiracy theories and whatever, too. I think there's a lot of stuff where, like, the NFL does a really good job 99% of the time of dealing with these different things. And, like, I think there's a lot more good guys than there are bad. And I think a lot of the small group, again, not to be like the classic talking points, but it's like the small group ruined it for everybody else. I will say it's very frustrating in these different situations where it's like, what are we doing here? Again, I don't have the legal information to tell you one way or another what happened there or didn't. I just think it's a bad look when it's like, this is like the third or fourth guy on your team that has pretty serious issues, and not for nothing, Bond and Jenkins and Watson, for that matter, have either proven nothing or aren't very good. Right. I don't think Bond's that great of a player, let alone, I mean, nothing's funnier to me than saying you're going to run a 4.1 and running in this mid 4.4s. Mid 4.4s is great, Mike. I would have been really impressed if you ran the mid 4.4s. Not when you tell me you're going to run a 4.0. So, nope. Yeah, I don't know. It's a dumb. I don't know. I don't get it. I will say, regarding the Browns, what do you think of Dillon Gabriel? Because I personally thought he was who we thought he was.
Yeah, really, you and I like him.
Small.
You and I like him, but he reads it well. He gets the ball out on time. The pick six was, as we've come to find out, Kevin Stefanski was like, two guys were not doing what they were supposed to do on that play, so not his fault. I liked it.
That out route he threw earlier was the best throw of the day, probably across the league. That's NFL layered throw right there.
Yeah, I've heard some Brown writers sort of disparage him and say his talent is not on the same level as Shedeur Sanders, and I question what they watched, because I think in many ways Gabriel's a better athlete than Sanders. He just doesn't have the typical size to be the quarterback. But as you and I talked about way back in the draft process, if he was 4 inches taller, he was the first round pick. So if they can manage him properly and give him good throwing lanes, he could be at least a passable starting quarterback in the league for them. And then, of course, there was the comments about entertainers and competitors that some people thought was a shot at Shedeur himself. And then, of course, Gabriel then reeled it back in and said, no, he was talking about the media. And then, of course, the media didn't say anything about that. So nice job, media, just taking that one on the chin. Anyway, that's going to be fun. I think that whole thing is going to be fun, convoluted, because Joe Flacco, who has been named the starter, is not going to last as the starter for the entirety of the year at his age. Let's move on to a couple other quarterbacks. We hit on Matthew Stafford the last time we spoke, Will, and now there's even more concern, because now the Rams, who were pretty open with things, have now won't even confirm whether he's showing up or not. And the back thing is an issue. He had the epidural, as we mentioned. As you were telling me, you're only allowed 3 of those in a year in terms of your body can't take any more than that. And it really does change the outlook of that football team, because as much as we love Sean McVay and think he's really smart and that he can craft something to work with Jimmy G or even Stetson Bennett if it comes to that, the ceiling with Stafford is potential Super Bowl team. The ceiling without him is, okay, maybe you claw into the playoffs at 9-8, but you're not doing any damage.
Yeah, I've expressed this last episode. I'm really worried about this. I think I mentioned this last episode. I know multiple guys in the league that have had this similar injury, and it takes like months and months, Mike, of doing nothing. I know this won't happen, but we talked about this before. I wonder if the Rams approach it, hey, let's 6 weeks. Let's shut you down. 6 weeks, you're not doing anything. No football, no nothing. And can that 6 weeks have his body rest up enough that we can ramp you back up for another 2 weeks, and week 8, right after the trade deadline, we'll assess where we're at. Hopefully we're 4-4, 5-3, and Jimmy does like San Francisco and New England Jimmy things where he's just like a league average starter that with a really good roster can be good. And we'll bring you back slowly. And by the second half of the year, we'll go on a run. And we only need really 10 games out of you this year. My worry is they're going to do the opposite. And they're going to say, like, we're going to run you out there and try to rest you here where we can and do these different things. And it's going to end up, his season's going to be over. I know this happens to older quarterbacks, and it specifically happens to older quarterbacks like Stafford, who played in a different era when they first got in the league and were taking these big shots. And Stafford, even 2-3 years ago, the last couple of years against the Lions, has taken some death blows. The body usually goes at some point. And Stafford talked again this offseason about how he can't push at 75 anymore. It's like he could probably get up to 60 if he needs it. I just really worry that you got to be really careful here. And you can only get so many epidurals. You can only get so many cortisone shots and these different things to block pain. I would just be very cautious. I would almost slow roll it. And the Rams kind of always suck in the beginning of the year anyways. And then they turn it on when they need to. I just almost would be I don't know, give Jimmy a month and be like, Matt, go take 2 weeks, go on vacation, sit in a nice tub for 2 weeks straight,
right.
Heal your back, and then let's reevaluate. I just wouldn't rush it as of now.
Well, I mean, the fact is they let him explore his market in the offseason, and nobody has more medical history with Matthew Stafford and knows what's going on with his body than the Rams did. And the Rams were content to all right, go ahead, shop yourself. If you can really get that price, then we don't feel like we want to match that price, then we'll trade you. So I think they kind of told you that we don't know how much longer this is going to last. So the fact that they got him back at their number, they were willing to take that chance. But I think it does speak to just the overall vibe about what's going on there. And again, they have 2 first-round picks next year. It seems likely that at some point they'll be looking
regret. Obviously, it's so early, but we talked about Dart being a perfect landing spot for them at 25 or whatever it was. They obviously trade out, they get the first rounder. Do you think in any way, shape, or form, if they knew Stafford's back was this bad, do you think there's any regret of we should have gone after Dart or Teddy Bridgewater and we should have been the team that brings him in, or we should have traded for Tyrod? I don't know. I'm just trying to think in my head of we should have been the Fields team because I could have gotten 120% out of him. Is there any I think there's any buyer's remorse, or it's too early because we don't know what Dart is and we frankly don't know if Stafford will play 17 or 1?
I think they like Jimmy. And again, I think they feel like they can win enough games with Jimmy so that trading up for Dart and then maybe Dart not being a factor at all this season, if Stafford gets healthy, stays healthy, then you say, well, what did we do? Our window is here, and we could have pushed it, and that's ended what they're doing, right? They trade back, they get the second first-round pick for next year, and now they're in position of, hey, we know this is probably it for Stafford. This is the last ride, and now we're in position to go do something and move up the draft board. If we don't stink, have to move up the draft board, use those 2 first-round picks to go up and get somebody. And I think we've seen teams willing to make that move, at least to a certain degree. Plus, if you end up being a 9-8 team and you're picking 20th or 21st, a little easier to get up into the high, 7, 8, 9, 10, somewhere there, as opposed to being 28.
Yeah, what were the Bills? 21 when they moved up for Allen?
They did. Didn't they do 2? I think they did 2 separate trades, or was that?
Yeah, they moved up to I think they moved. No, they did. They moved up to 14, 15, and then moved up to 7.
And then jumped up again. So yeah, that's probably the blueprint for them to follow. Another quarterback with an injury problem and coming off injuries last year, which certainly slowed down his season. Jordan Love had thumb surgery, not expected to keep him out of any meaningful games. He should be ready for week 1, according to everybody in Green Bay. The thumb in his non-throwing hand. And they just said it's going to bother him all year long, so we might as well just get it taken care of now. He was already throwing yesterday. Again, it's not the throwing hand, but I just wonder. A lot of injuries in Green Bay's camp. Their wide receiver room is currently a mess.
Yep.
Jaden Reed's in a boot. Romeo Doubs, I think, hurt his back, and so there's no sense on when that's going to be ready again. You have the Love thing. I don't know, just one of those things to watch. Sometimes teams just have rotten injury luck, and usually tends to reveal itself fairly early in a lot of cases. And I don't know, just one of those things to kind of file in the back of your brain. Can Green Bay be healthy? Or Golden State came from. Can Green Bay be healthy? And because I think a lot of people think it's a year to make a leap. They won 11 games last year. There's still a lot of good talent on that football team. They played some of the good teams really tough, lost games by 2 points here, 2 points there. That this might be the year for the leap. But again, if you're not physically totally healthy, that could be a problem, especially a quarterback.
Yeah, I worry a little bit that I hope Love's injury stuff. He has luckily nothing serious, but it's like back-to-back years of these little nagging injuries early on in the season kind of derails them early on. So, with the Packers, I think it's like they have a lot of talent, good staff, a lot of talent. The division, I think, as a whole, got worse. I think it's very balanced now. I think last year it was like 3 really good teams, and then the Bears. Now it's 4 teams that should be at least. I don't think there's anyone predicting what the Bears 7-8 wins at the least, and then Packers, Lions, and Vikings. Everyone's like they're 3 very common Super Bowl picks. So, the receiver room's got to catch the football, Mike. I don't know how many times we have to say it. They have such a great collection of talent. But I don't know how many ones they have. They have a lot of 2s and a lot of 3s, and that's amazing. And you can get away with it. They have a lot of it feels like their whole roster. That's not true. I'm going to take this back. They feel their whole offensive roster is like really just B to B plus across the board. Like Love is a tier 2 guy, but he's a good quarterback. Jacobs is amazing. Obviously, the offensive line's good, not great. I think it's a really good group. I'm not saying it's bad. It's a good group. Receiver room's really deep, but do they have a 1? Tight end room's really good. Do they have a premiered guy? LaFleur's a really good head coach. Is he in the mix of McVay, Shanahan, or is he right below? You know what I mean? I don't know. They got to stay healthy and they got to get off to a better start. I feel like the last 2 years it's been a little clunky, and then they're asked to get hot, and that's fine. You want to get hot at the right time and all the cliches, but I don't know if you can always get away with that. I think some years you finish 7-10 or 8-9 and miss the playoffs because you do that. So even with Rodgers, it used to happen all the time. A couple of years they got off to hot starts, but a lot of times it might could be like, oh, the Packers are
what's wrong with Green Bay?
Rattle off 10 in a row, and you're like, or 8 in a row, whatever. And you're like, oh, okay, and then they lose at home, obviously, in Aaron fashion. But I wonder. A couple of different guys like Love had that very random, but why did Malik Nabers? I know we're going to wrap here in a second, but why did Malik Nabers not get the toe taken care of? I'm really confused by that. All week I've been thinking about it. I've asked everybody under the sun. No good answer. Not that it's people's fault, but they knew about the toe the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And he could have gotten it taken care of, and maybe he missed his training camp in the first 2 weeks, and because it's such a weird injury and blood flow to your foot and all that stuff. But he's already not practicing a lot, and I know he's a Ferrari, and you take him out of the engine once every weekend, once a week, and that's how I get it. I get all the cliches. I don't know. I don't understand the thinking there when a staff that needs to win, he's their best player, that should have been taken care of in the spring and sacrificed training camp as opposed to sacrificing maybe games this season.
You could have even argued it could have been taken care of in December when that team was out of the mix and it's not going great and he's feeling it. So hey, let's take care of this now.
Just got taken care of in October.
Well, that might have ended up costing some guys their jobs. Then their jobs they're hanging on by a very fine line right now. But a couple quick just mentions before we go. The Matthew Golden thing. A lot of raving about Golden. Again, I want to see it in games because, as we've talked about, contextualizing what happens during preseason. But definite buzz there, and maybe he becomes, if not right away, maybe he becomes the one in Green Bay before the year is out.
Did anyone question? I saw a lot of tweeting of everyone slept on Matt. Dude, he was a first-round pick.
Nobody slept on him.
I don't know. He was a guy that had second-round tape that had first-round 40-yard dash time and some splash plays.
Yep.
I think anyone was sleeping on him at all. I actually think that if anything, he probably went higher in a draft in a year ago. He wouldn't have gone in the first round. I don't know. Did I miss something? It's the classic. Everyone slept on Cam Ward. No one, I think, slept on Cam Ward. He went 1-1.
Yeah, he went number 1 overall. You know who didn't sleep on Roman Wilson? This guy, Roman Wilson. Again, a lot of buzz. Again, we're just preseason, not going to go crazy. Just saying, I never sold my house. I never sold the house on Roman Wilson Island. And perhaps after an injury-filled season, this quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, can get him the football, and he doesn't. He's already called him out at least once publicly. But, that's just life with Aaron. A reminder to all of you fine folks who are watching the program, we appreciate that. First of all, subscribe to the podcast, like and leave a review. Those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead and hit the like button. Subscribe to the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel to get Patriots content and league content like we provide right here. Also, please make sure to turn on your notifications so you know the instant a new video drops. He is Will. I am Mike, and we will see you at some point next week. Until then.